Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to today's market review. We're taking a look at the S&P 500 here on the daily time frame. The market posted another day of weakness in here. This is kind of the third day in the last 5 days in here that we're getting pretty serious close near the lows of the day. So you can see kind of how this looks right there. And then, a couple of days ago, we also got a close near the lows. And then we also got one up here. The move towards the highs were very slow. We closed towards the top, but there was no real continuation. So, yesterday's close was a bit encouraging. And based on that, as I was doing the video yesterday, I was expecting the market to try to see if it can break a little bit higher, but it failed to do so. So this sends us a little bit on a more defensive posture. And looking at the Elliott Wave structure, it's quite interesting in here that we could be having a fifth wave completion, but I will only be able to confirm that with more I don't know if I should say security the moment it starts to break below this fourth wave low, and that is 57.67. If the market starts to sell off tomorrow and it starts to pick up pace, I think these levels in here, they're probably going to get hit. And then what we have is, we have this kind of open gap that's up here towards 56.59. Now that's, quite a bit away. So we will definitely, watch along the way to see for any signs of, reversal coming up on high volume, what have you. What I usually do here is I put a retracement fib between this low and this high, and I'm taking a look at the 61.8, and that comes in at about 58.77. If we start to break below this level, then I think it's very likely that we're going to get all the way back here, if not even lower. So the first level of interest, if we continue, it's going to be near 58.77 here in the S&P 500, where this market could hold and turn and maybe, move higher into the next sequence, possibly if this becomes some type of a 1 instead of a 5, another 1 and 2. Since you're in an uptrend, we want to stay open to that possibility, and then see if it's getting any signals that it can kind of turn from there and move towards 61.74, 6,200, and start to make new all-time highs. So we're watching that kind of on a daily basis in here, through the videos. And another thing that I watch is kind of where the RSI is. So we broke 60, and I'm going to be watching what happens once we get back towards the 50. That's the level I watch on uptrends. To see if we can hold anywhere between 50 and 40 in combination with some price action coming from the daily bars, and see if there is enough demand. So for that, I go, up here to kind of my distribution accumulation chart, and I watch, I watch volume, I watch kind of how the candles close, and how much power comes behind the moves, and then I'm able a little bit to read, with the help of this, kind of what's going on with the Elliott Wave structure as well. So as a help. So for right now, we're having multiple black candles in here without a lot of strength towards the top, and I'm just a little bit concerned that we might be getting a bit more pullback in here. So let's also take a quick look at the moving average and see where those are going up here. And you see the 20 days at about 59.42, and the next one, it's much lower. It's at about 58.10, which is the 200 day moving average. So, the 50, it's much lower now, since, it crossed over back in the middle of April. So the first sign in here that you're going to get more weakness, it's if we're starts to get a close below the 20-day moving average on let's say higher volume, that could be another signal that there is more to go and try to close this gap in the market. So that's what's going on in the S&P 500. We've gotten a little bit. I want to show you kind of what's going on in the semiconductors. I think they had a little bit. I mean, it's very small on the charts, but if we go, let's say, like on an hourly, Yeah, and I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. Let me just kind of scoot it up like that. So see what happened right here. They tried to break today after a nice three-wave setback, some type of a correction that kind of happened here, and then it just went up and it failed, and then it closed below. So to me, um, that's a sign that we could be having some weakness coming up in the semiconductors as well. And the first target I would have for that would be no further than this level, just in case this turns up to be some kind of a flat, and then you continue to go. So I wouldn't, go too crazy on shorting semis or anything like that, but just a little bit of a shorter term weakness, at least up into these levels, if not a little bit higher, maybe towards like 51.50, something of that nature. But I wanted to kind of show you, that little gap up failure, actually not a gap, but a move up, failed move, and then a reversal and a close below. So that's, I think, kind of a strong, a little bit of a stronger signal there. Let's take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin now, and because yesterday, and I think while I was doing the video, the market was moving, but then it closed later on. I think, my video was done a couple of hours before the market closed, and then we pulled back. And I said, let's watch, kind of how the price moves in regards to that candle, because I need to. I need that low of that candle to hold for that signal to be valid, right? And we violated that. We penetrated below the low of that candle. We came back into the 50-day, which is still a good support. But any kind of bullish outlook based on that move, now it's out of the window. So, being flat in here, I think it's much more important, right at the moment, just kind of watching the price action rather than going bullish, because it's, it was basically a failed move. And then there was another one here that failed at about 110. This one had a tendency to, or a chance to kind of recapture those levels and continue. And now the market is failing. So, it could be that this, again, until and I'm going to take a look at IBIT here in a second, but until we're taking the lows, of this candle, this could still be, some kind of a second wave pullback, but it's getting too wide and too weird to be that. So this might suggest that these lows in here were probably going to get challenged. And today's close will probably tell us that could be the case if we're closing at least, towards the low of the bar or below that 50-day, and we can attack the 100 level. I'm not saying that's fully bearish, but the correction, kind of whatever happens here, seems to be continuing. And let's take a quick look at IBIT, and I will show you what I mean in here. Basically, on the weekly time frames, it still continues to look good, but up here on the daily, it had a chance to kind of complete that wave two and continue, but then it failed. And we talked about this, I think, in one of my weekly videos, this 23% kind of holding, and the market bounced, but then it failed. So now, this wave two comes into question if this gets bigger, and we're going to be looking for 38%. 50%, which is not a fib, but just a halfway distance move, and then the 61.8 is kind of the ultimate defense on that, which is quite a bit, quite a bit of a drop if the market kind of gets all the way down there. So again, I wouldn't do anything for right now. I would probably get bullish only if it breaks this level in IBIT, and in whatever is the corresponding level in Bitcoin. Kind of if it gets through that level, I would get long the market. Until then, I would be on a waiting and watching type of a thing, because you don't know how far this wave two is going to push through, and if it's going to break or not. Again, I'm watching the RSI here right at the 50, which is a double test of this. This is kind of holding, so that's a good sign. But who knows what happens overnight in Bitcoin, and then how IBIT opens in the morning. So we're going to be watching that. But if this still it's a good zone of interest, then there's no point in buying it necessarily here into this low. One could with lows maybe below this low in here, but I think that's a bit dangerous in my view, and I would only buy with an uptrend as the market starts to turn and move through this level and then continue to go. So anyway, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you think, in the comments. So I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye.